Hi everyone and welcome to this DCD talk. I'm James Raddings, Digital Portfolio Lead here at DCD, and today I'm joined by Joe Kramer, who's Vice President and General Manager of Modular Data Centers in North America at Schneider Electric. And today we'll be talking about why modularity wins in the AI data center era. But before we do that, welcome to you, Joe. I suppose to start off, are you able to tell us a bit more about yourself, your career journey, and your role at Schneider Electric?
Sure. Thanks, James. I really appreciate you having me today. Really looking forward to our discussion. A little bit about myself. I've worked in the data center industry my whole life, more than 30 years. My background, went to school in engineering and got started working for some UPS companies back in the 90s, and really enjoyed working in this industry, and I had a lot of great experiences. My formative years were with a company called American Power Conversion, APC, where I worked in our group that did what we call white space equipment today, racks, power distribution, that kind of stuff. Did a lot of different roles: engineering, marketing, project management. Did a lot of different things in that space, and that's really where I grew up, learning a lot about data centers and how they're built and all of that. APC got bought by Schneider Electric about 20 years ago. Continued working in that space that I just described for a while. About 14 years ago, I decided to be employee number 1 or 2 in what we now call modular data centers, or I'll probably call them prefabricated data centers when we go through it. It's got a lot of names in the industry, but we use those 2 at Schneider Electric. And it's been a heck of a ride for the last 14 years. When we started, it was an experiment. Had no orders, no business, no factory. Really, we had PowerPoint slides and some ideas. And it's grown to be quite a significant business these days. So in those years, I did a lot of different jobs, same kind of story in R&D and engineering and marketing and sales. Learned an awful lot about that business and a lot about our customers, a lot about the industry along the way. So that culminated in the role you described me as I'm running the operations for our business in North America in modular data centers. So
Great. Yeah, no, I'm always intrigued how people essentially get into the industry, and I might have to ask you some tips after this call, because I'm still actually trying to work out how I got into it, and also how to explain what I do to my family as well. So
yeah, a lot of luck is usually how I describe it. But
So I mean, we see in the news a lot the AI demand and high density workload that's accelerating so quickly. How do you see the data center industry transforming to respond to that?
Well, I mean, AI is changing the world, right? It's, the speed with which everyone is trying to develop this technology is unlike anything I think we've experienced. And as we were saying, we've experienced so much in the data center industry in the last 30 years that the growth has been amazing. But this is something different. I was in a meeting the other day where it was compared to the Industrial Revolution, right? This is like, something like that. And fundamentally, there are 5 or 10 companies out there that are trying to develop this technology, and it's a race. And they're racing each other to get to the next milestone. So, and all of that technology is built on the backs of a data center. It needs to be housed in a data center, and it needs to run there. So it's just changed the way the world is trying to build data centers in terms of the size, the speed, and then the technology is, just to throw another wrench into it, the technology is pretty significantly different. So it's just changed so much. But really the fundamental thing is the size and the speed everybody needs to build these data centers at, and those 5 or 10 companies want to see their workloads come online.
Yeah. And I suppose as we see, the industry moving so rapidly, I mean, some of the rack sizes are bigger than some of the data centers that we'd be speaking about a couple of years ago. I mean, and all about speed, but speed to deploy as well. That seems to be the number one customer demand in the market. And how does some of the work you're doing surrounding modular help customers essentially accelerate data center deployment timelines?
Well, there's about 4 elements to it where the modular approach really supports the, the speed that we need to go, right? The first and foremost is a data center operator or a data center builder has to look at their design. They almost have to look at it like they're a high volume manufacturer of equipment, right? They in the past, as we were talking in the past, you could build every data center in a new and different way, right? You could have a unique design because not that everybody did that, but there was a lot of that in our industry. And there was enough time to do that, right? There was enough people and resources to do that. Today, there isn't. So what the data center operators have to do is take a step back and say, okay, I need to make a very standardized design. I need to make it something almost where it's a cookie cutter so I can, build these data centers, at a very high volume rate with that mindset of almost of a manufacturer's mindset. Even though they're not really manufacturing a product, they have to have that mindset. So standardizing the design and making it very modular is like the first leg of the stool, right? And rather than looking at their data center design as, thousands of parts, if they can boil that down to 5 subsystems that they can modularize, then they can move real fast. So that's really the first leg, is to have that standardized and modular design. The next thing that doing a modular data center approach allows you to do is, and basically what I call a modular data center or a subsystem of a modular data center is the piece of the data center that we build in a factory, right? So rather than building a piece of equipment, switchgear or a UPS or, a cooling machine in a factory, that's all built in a factory. Well, we're taking it up to the next level where we're building the whole subsystem of the data center, or even in some cases, the whole data center in a factory, right? So what does that mean? When I'm building that subsystem in the data center in the factory, you don't have to build it on site. So you can prepare your site to receive this much larger system and do a lot more parallel activities, right? So you get a benefit of speed there. The other element that we get because we're building it in the factory is you don't have to have all the people at the site that you might otherwise need because you're using my factory labor. And these days, going back to how much we need to build and how fast we need to go, availability of resources, availability of people on these construction sites is a major barrier. So we're helping our customers out with that part of it. And then finally, because we're building in a factory, it's going to be a lot more reliable. So it shows up, it's going to start up faster, commissioning is going to be faster, and you're going to be off to the races much faster with your equipment. So there's 3 or 4 legs to that stool, but all of that adds up to getting it done faster and more reliably than you ever could have before.
Yeah. Yeah. And with some of the, I suppose essentially with AI pushing power and cooling needs into a completely new territory, how are you and the team figuring out things in real time? And I suppose what are some of the lessons that you've learned on the way?
Well, the big thing we're learning is we've got to be adaptable. We definitely have learned that while every operator wants to standardize, their standard is a little different than someone else's. So we unfortunately can't make one size fits all for all of our customers. We have to be adaptable to that. So what we do is we spend our time working with our clients very in depth, very deep. Let's figure out the thing that fits your business, and then we try to take that to a high volume approach so that they can get all the benefits that I just described for their business, right? So we have to be adaptable to that ecosystem, and we have to move fast, right? And it's really hard to move fast when we're trying to do something at higher volumes than we ever have before, right? So that's really the biggest challenge that we have, and I think everybody has in this business is, that the business is bigger, and that's so exciting. We have to move fast, which can be exciting, but we have to maintain quality and safety and all those, non-negotiable tenets of all of our businesses at the same time. So that's really, the game that we have to be agile and very, very flexible.
Yeah, yeah. And when you work with partners across the ecosystem, I suppose at what stage do you get involved, and to truly kind of co-develop and essentially build partnerships?
Yeah, well, the sooner the better.
Yeah,
I think is
yeah,
the short of the story, right?
yeah,
Um, we probably can't be there at the very, very, very beginning, but we want to be as close to the beginning so we can help them. We can help steer them with our knowledge, right? And they steer us with theirs, right? So that we work together and co-develop, as you said. If we get to the end and we're responding to a bid spec, which is something that happens in a lot of different parts of equipment supply to data centers, um, our ability to be successful goes down, and our ability to really add that extra layer of uh, of of expertise to the whole solution is harder for us to do. So the sooner the better. The earlier is where we can add the most value.
yeah, yeah. And one thing I hear, quite a lot from operators is that when they're going out to people in the ecosystem, they're having to work with company X, which works in one way, and having to put the components together with company Y, which might not fit, and all that, and it just becomes a headache. How do you guys essentially overcome that?
Well, that's one of the benefits of Schneider Electric. Hopefully, company A and company B and company C is all
Yes,
Schneider Electric.
yeah, yeah,
That's one of the values that we can bring is that we provide so much of the equipment. Um, I can give you an example. One of the clients that we work with it's very well known in the marketplace is Compass Data Centers, and just all the things I just said are embodied in our relationship with Compass, and what they do and what they take to the market. We've engaged early. We've worked with them for years and years. They've really bought into the modular approach and that standardized approach. So they're able to leverage that up the stream with their clients, right? So they're trying to sell data center space to hyperscalers and others like that. And the standardized modular approach, the simplistic approach that they boil the data center down into these 5 systems, allows them to go to that marketplace and say, hey, I can build it faster and more reliably than the others. And that's been very successful for them. So that's one of the really amazing things about being involved in this industry is you're not just supplying equipment and saying mine's better than yours and all of that. We're able to impact our customers' value proposition to their customers.
yeah,
And that's really a great example of it. And Compass has bought in it to such a great extent where, I hope I'm not offending them and say they make a cookie cutter design. I think those are the worst they may use. So they make it very standardized, but they have a design that is, and frequently they use the word fungible, that allows them to do some optimization or some options. So they're not necessarily just going to their customers and saying, well, you can have one thing and that's it. They are able to give a lot of optionality to their customers, but still have that all work within, those 5 kits that they put together.
yeah.
And they've been very successful. They've grown dramatically in the last couple of years. And I think that's a major reason why.
Yeah. No, I really like the cookie cutter analogy. It's repeatable, it's scalable, same end product, and it protects uptime. So perfect.
Yes, absolutely.
So I suppose if modular is becoming the standard today, what does that mean for how AI-ready campuses will be built going forward with that in mind?
Well, today, a lot of what I just talked about and a lot of what's happening today is really in the power systems, the electrical systems of those data centers. That's really where, in the last couple of years, the most of the growth has occurred in this business. I think the growth rates are crazy. There's something like 30 to 50% in kind of our business for those power solutions. But the other aspect of the AI data centers, besides going fast and having to build big, is the technology is changing, and most of that technology change as it impacts data center infrastructure is about being higher density, right? The AI chips, draw more power. They have to be closer together to work optimally. So now you've got racks that today are maybe up to 100 kilowatts. Tomorrow it'll be 200 kilowatts. Next year it might be a megawatt, which is kind of mind blowing. As you said, a megawatt might have been a whole data center 10 years ago. Now it's a rack. So that's driving all kinds of new technologies. The big thing that we see today is one of the things that makes an AI data center different than a cloud data center probably is that it has liquid cooling. So supporting liquid cooling is a major technology shift. We see a new thing in modular that's happening that's in the white space, which we call a modular IT pod, which is all the supporting infrastructure for these high density racks that's modularized and delivered to site as a kit, where you can put that up in a day or two to support that whole white space build out. Whereas if you build it with the millions of parts that you might need, that might take a month or two, right? So that's another interesting thing that's happening in modular data centers that's being driven by liquid cooling. There's new technologies like 800 volt DC that'll come into play in the next couple of years, which I'm sure will drive new things for us to do in modular. And then just everybody getting better, smarter, looking at the software layer, looking at, new ways we can do services and do analytics on all of this equipment so that we can be faster and be more responsive. There's not enough time to talk about all of those things, James, but it's just going to be an exciting next 3 to 5 years with all of those new things coming into play and all the new shifts that we're going to have to absorb.
Yeah. And one thing we hear a lot, about the modular approach and what's come across today is that it de-risks a lot. We hear a lot of the same, regarding kind of the software and the controls layer and digital twins as well. Could you tell us just a little bit more about that and how that essentially de-risks operations?
Well, sure. I mean, obviously, we've all known for years that we need to monitor our equipment and make sure it's okay. And that's really been the baseline, I think, of what we've done digitally. But I mean, even using the technology that we're building these data centers is going to enable us to take that to the next level, where instead of just monitoring things, our software is going to predict things, right? Predict when your equipment should need to be serviced, or when there might be a failure, or something where we can predict a future problem that we're going to have in the build cycle or the construction cycle, because we have a digital embodiment of that data center in a digital twin. So we have that as a reference rather than building it twice or having to build it incorrectly to know the correct way to do it. So all of those things are going to make us so much smarter and so much faster as we build everything out.
And just as a final thought, what role do you see the modular approach playing when there's this massive digital infrastructure build out over the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, I mean, I think it's just going to accelerate, right? Basically, there's no other way to move as fast as the market is moving without doing more and more of this. So what exactly that's going to look like, I think, is probably and absolutely going to evolve and change. And that's where we've got to be ready to evolve and change as it happens. I think if you reflect back on the 10 years prior to this AI thing happened, data center design, evolved, and it definitely accelerated and got bigger, but the designs itself didn't evolve nearly as much as what we're seeing now. So I think that's really going to be the challenge, is staying on top of the technology changes that are coming at us, and then wrapping them into a modular approach. We're going to have to do both, right? The modular enables the speed, so the clients in the marketplace are going to want that, but they need to support these new technologies that are coming to them. So that's going to be the game, is to combine both of those elements to give them the best of both worlds.
Sounds great. And yeah, I mean, looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. And that's all we've got time for, but thank you so much for your time today, Joe. Thank you everyone for watching at home as well. If you've got any questions whatsoever about anything myself and Joe have discussed today, please do reach out to either myself or Joe and his team. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you on the next one.